ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। So, as you have seen, we will just discuss some important features of the Arati which is done every evening at Belur Math. All of you are familiar with it, I think. So, a little detailed discussion might help us in understanding the meaning better. So, I thought that this may be a good subject we can discuss. So, as you know, Arati is sung, and the hymns also, so many hymns in praise of gods and goddesses, they are sung. So, what is the importance of this singing? Why can't we just chant like in prose or just read out? So, you see, one of the several spiritual disciplines described in the scriptures as an aid to gaining bhakti or devotion to gods, it is one of there are actually 9 modes of such worship. So of these 9 modes, one of that is Kirtana. Kirtana means singing the glories of God. Shri Ramakrishna also has stressed again and again on this. So Shravana means hearing and Kirtana means singing. So first we have to know about God's glories from our scriptures and saints and sages, His real nature as much as possible as we can understand. Then if we sing them, then it very easily captures our attention and makes our mind concentrated. So just by putting some words into music, it is realized by everybody that they gain a tremendous power. It is much more easier to remember them also, and the feeling also generated by them is very, very powerful. That is why Swami Vivekananda has said, music is the highest art, and to those who understand is the highest worship. So, if we can adore God through music, it is the highest worship according to Swami Vivekananda. And this is a very, very great aid, very, very great help to keep the memory of God alive in our mind. So I will again quote Swami Vivekananda. He says, the greatest aid to the practice of keeping God in memory is perhaps music. The Lord says to Narada, the great teacher of bhakti, I do not live in heaven, nor do I live in the heart of the yogi, but where my devotees sing my praise, there am I. Music has such tremendous power over the human mind, it brings it to concentration in a moment. You will find the dull, ignorant, low, brute-like human beings who never steady their mind for a moment at other times, when they hear attractive music, immediately become charmed and concentrated. Even the minds of animals such as dogs, lions, cats and serpents become charmed with music. So this is the power of music over human mind. And naturally, if we employ it as a spiritual discipline, in whichever way we employ it, it depends upon us, you see. So if we employ it as a spiritual discipline, it will greatly help our spiritual growth. That is the experience of every one of us. So it does not need any elaboration, because there can be no reason known for this. It is just we all feel that and we all know that. Now, to be perfect, this devotional music has various aspects. So there are generally 6 aspects mentioned so that this becomes perfect and helps in the concentration of mind. First is the lyrics. Good lyrics, meaningful lyrics. Then background of harmoniously tuned musical instruments. Then what is in Indian languages called raga. Raga means a beautiful tune. And then the rhythm, or it is called laya or tal. And bhavana or feeling. Feeling means the feeling which that kind of music evokes in our mind. So when these are all harmoniously blended, they evoke wonderful sentiments in each of us. So the effect produced by such devotional music is wonderful, and our saints and sages say that the time of the day is also very important. When we sing or when we hear such music, the time of the day is also very important. So Sri Ramakrishna said that the early morning hours, when the night changes to day, and dusk, when the day changes to night, these are very, very helpful. The mind becomes calm because the nature also becomes calm at such moments. So, if at these moments we pay special attention to our spiritual practices, the gain will be greater, the results will be greater. That is why in the morning Brahma Muhurta, you will find a small arati type of thing is done in many temples, including Belur Math. And in the evening, nearly all the temples have some kind of arati or vesper service, because that time is very propitious for this kind of worship. That is why the singing of what is called, Suprabhatam. Suprabhatam means early morning hymns, and Aratrikam, that is Vesper hymns in the evening, has been in vogue in nearly all the temples and places of worship for centuries. So, Belur Math and Ramakrishna Order ashramas are no exception to this rule. And after establishing the main monastery of the Ramakrishna Math at Belur, Swami Vivekananda himself introduced rituals which have now become a tradition in other branches of the order too. And one of these is worship of Sri Ramakrishna at dusk, followed by Arti, which is waving of lamps and other materials, lamps, then there is a cloth, then flowers, etc. So waving these before the deity to the accompaniment of devotional song. So this song, this whole Arti, Swamiji himself composed, and he wrote and also set to music. So now it has become well known as Khandana Bhava Bandhana Stotra and Om Rim Ritam, that is in Sanskrit. And last of all, we sing this verse from the Chandi or Durga Saptashati, Sarva Mangala Mangalye. So, since many of us do this every day, a better understanding will be helpful to all of Swamiji's wonderful composition. Now, about this Khandana being sung at Belur Mutt, I found some very interesting details when I was translating a book called Devaloke. So, Devaloke has been translated in English as In the Divine Realm. So, I'll just show you the photo of the author Swami Apurvanandaji. This is Swami Apurvananda who had written Devaloke, and he had the great good fortune of serving Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj, President of the Ramakrishna Order. I will also show you a very rare photo of Shivanandaji when he was quite old. This is a very rare photo of Shivanandaji at Belur Mutt. So this incident which I am mentioning, this happened when Swami Shivanandaji once visited Gadadhar Ashrama. Gadadhar Ashrama had been recently founded then, so those who are familiar with Calcutta know the area as Bhawanipur. So Gadadhar Ashrama was founded long ago, it's nearly 100 years now. So this one photo of the ashrama I'll show you. This is Gadadhar Ashrama. Many times we have gone there to give talks, etc. It is very near Kali Ghat. So this incident I am narrating has been narrated by Swami Apurvanandji in the book Devaloke, and Mahapurushji was visiting Gadadhar Ashrama and Apurvanandji was also with him. So I will quote from the book. This is in 1923. So the author says, Jagadhatri Puja was celebrated at Gadadhar Ashrama in 1923. Swami Kamaleshwarananda was then the head of this ashrama, and at his request, Mahapurush Maharaj stayed there for 5 days during this period. Hearing of his arrival, a great number of devotees gathered at the ashrama. Mahapurush Maharaj participated in the evening arati on the day of his arrival. Khandana Bhava Bandhana, the song about the master composed by Swamiji, was sung on this occasion to the accompaniment of drums and various other musical instruments under the guidance of Sanat Babu, a devotee of the ashrama. So this Sanat Babu afterwards became a monk of the order also. So after returning to his room after the arati, Mahapurushji said to me means said to Apurvanandaji, the songs sung at the time of arati sound very beautiful when accompanied by the drums. Swamiji composed and also taught us how to sing Khandana Bhava Bandhana. He himself would play on the drums and also sing the song at the time of arati, in which all of us would join. I was overjoyed to hear this song accompanied by the drums after so many years, and again remembered those old days. So now Mahapurushji is telling here that he heard Khandana after many years, and he was then living at Belur Mutt. So from this it is obvious that Khandana was not sung at Belur Math regularly as it is done now. So, after this, the author says that Mahapurushji told him, can you learn from Sanat how to play the harmonium with the Arti songs? The hymn Sarva Mangala Mangalya is also sung here every day. Learn that song also. I gladly agreed and soon learnt all the Arti songs. So after we returned to Belur Math from the Gadadhar Ashrama, Mahapurushji said to me one day, from today you will play the harmonium and sing the hymns at Arati. So the Arati hymns were sung to the accompaniment of the harmonium from that day at Belur Math. So from this we know that the Arati songs what we sing now were sung regularly at Belur Math only 1923 onwards. Before that, I don't know what was being sung. If I find any details anywhere, I would share with you. So this is a very important thing to know. So now let us start the discussion on the actual hymn, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. This is in Bengali. And Om Rim Ritam, you know, is in Sanskrit, and of course Sarva Mangalya also. It is from the Chandi and in Sanskrit also. So in Khandana Bhava Bandhana, one very interesting point to note is that Sri Ramakrishna has not been mentioned by name anywhere. He has been mentioned by name in Om Rim Ritam, Shnantam, Suvimalam, etc. So, but not here. But the various adjectives Swami Vivekananda has used are so general that they can be applied to any incarnation of God. Yet each one of them is very well suited to Sri Ramakrishna. So we can discuss the first verse today. I'll just share the all of you know, of course. So this is the first verse, as you all know. It is sung in Chautal. Chautal, that is, I think 12 matras are there. So the tune you also know, all of you know. Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jagavandana Vandito Jananara Rupadhara Nirguna Guna Ma. So below you can see written in English also, below transliteration, Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jagavandana, etc. And below that is the translation. So Khandana means breaking. Khandana, to break anything means Khandana. So God is the breaker. Breaker of what? The bondage. Bondage is Bandhana of Bhava. Bhava means this world. So God breaks the bondage which this world is. That is the first quarter of the verse. Then the second quarter, Jaga Vandana. Jaga means the whole world, and Vandana means one who is adored. So you are adorable and the whole world adores you, and I also pay my obeisance to you. Vandi Tomai. Tomai in Bengali means you. Then the third quarter, Niranjana. Niranjana means that which is stainless. And Nara Rupa Dhara. So there are three words here. Nara means human being, Rupa means form, and Dhara means assuming. So you came into the world assuming the form of a human being. And Nirguna. Guna is, we have all studied Sankhya philosophy now, so we know what is guna, qualities. So Nirguna, you are beyond the gunas. Yet, Gunamay, you are also full of blessed gunas or quality. So you are beyond the gunas, but you are also full of gunas. So how these two things exist in God, we will discuss. So this is the first verse. Now let us try to see the meaning in a little detail. I have taken the help of Swami Harshanandji's commentary on this, and also added some quotations of Swami Vivekananda, etc., to make the meaning more clear. So first is Khandana Bhava Bandhana. We all sing this, we have sung this hundreds of times. Bhava Bandhana. Bhava Bandhana means the world is itself bondage. And God breaks this bond. Now the thing is, do we really realize that the world is a bondage? And do we really, if we don't realize it is bondage, naturally, we won't ask God from our hearts to break it. Although we may sing this 100 times, but do we really realize that the world is bondage? Till we are in the world, we are bound. We have to ask ourselves this question. For example, a person is in jail. If a person is in jail, he has been kept confined, his freedom has been limited. What will be the uppermost thought in his mind? 24 hours of the day, waking, dreaming, sleeping. What will he be thinking of? He will be thinking of how to get free. How can I be free? Whatever way possible. Anything can happen in this world. Anything, suppose a person is in jail, anything can happen to him. He can't go out. Some jailer can come and give him a good thrashing. Or some inmates also, many times it happens that the inmates of the jail, they torture other prisoners. Just a few days ago we had read of so many people had been killed in a jail. I've forgotten the country. So when we are bound, anything can happen. We are not free. So do we really feel, do we really think that we are bound? If we realize this, our whole 24 hours, we will be just thinking of one thing: how to be free. And what is this world? This world is our identification with this huge mass of flesh, what Nagmasha used to call a cage of flesh and bones, this despicable body. Because we are identified with this, our world, we are in this world. It is as simple as that. So this body is the root. This identification with the body is the root of worldly bondage, and from that comes all the branches. All the branches we know very well. We are not satisfied with this one bondage. We go and marry another bondage. then another, then we have children, then another branch, then people are so glad when they have grandchildren. My goodness, that is a time for celebration. So, are we really realizing that we are adding bondage after bondage to ourselves? If a person really believes that body is a source of trouble and a bondage, can he ever be responsible for any other jiva assuming a body? If I am in jail, shall I drag another person into jail with me? Can I be responsible for that? I can never be. So when we are spreading branches like these and celebrating over it also, we should really give some rethinking. That really, do we realize that we are in bondage? So that is why Swami Vivekananda says, these are very strong words which he uses. He says in his complete works, it is there, you suffer from yourselves, none else compels, none other holds you that you live and die again and again, and whirl upon the wheel and hug and kiss its spokes of agony, its tire of tears, its nave of nothingness. So nobody is forcing us. We are spreading branches after branches after branches. And what is the nature of this wheel? Hug and kiss first its spokes of agony, tears and nothing else, nothingness. So we will suffer, we will weep, and in the end we find that we have gained nothing. This is the position of the world. But we don't realize this. So since we don't realize our bondage naturally, we cannot pray to God earnestly for release, because we don't know that we are bound. Sri Ramakrishna says, when the fish are trapped in the net, the fisherman has thrown a net into the river. Fish are trapped in it, but they don't realize it. They don't know that the fisherman will soon pull the net and they will die. They bury their heads in the mud and think that we are quite all right. So this is the condition. So yes, God will break our bonds when? Only when we realize that we are in bondage. If we don't want, why should God take all the trouble? That is the thing. So we have somehow identified ourselves with the body due to our desires and superimposed upon ourselves all its limitations, infirmities, sickness, old age, and finally death. So this is due to ignorance. So many ways have been proposed in the scriptures of how to get rid of this ignorance. And the first is to wake up and realize that we are in bondage. That is the thing. If we really realize and really pray to God with earnestness, God will and does break our bondages. Because that is the only reason for which God incarnates on earth. You all know the famous verse of the Gita, why God comes. So, Swami Vivekananda says, Lord Krishna has promised in the Gita that whenever there is a decline in religion, he embraces his own Maya in order to become incarnate, to restore religion and help people to regain peace. That is why, out of compassion for ordinary people like us, and to accept our heartfelt worship, God descends to the human plane and assumes a human body and human feelings, because he is sympathetic to our misery. Because he is sympathetic, the master has to come forward to mitigate our suffering. But if we don't know, if we think we are quite alright, we are not suffering, then God says, okay, you are fine, you are happy, why should I disturb you? Carry on the way you like. That is the thing. So, but for those who have realized this, deliverance is at hand with the advent of Sri Ramakrishna. Holy Mother herself says that God realization was very, very difficult. Spiritual progress was very, very difficult in all other ages. But in this age, with the advent of Sri Ramakrishna, it has become much easier. So there is a sort of saying, that there is a wind, it is called Malaya breeze, that when it blows, all the ordinary trees are turned into sandalwood trees. It is just a, sort of fable sort of thing. But the trees which are bamboo cannot be converted. Even if 1,000 breeze, if a poor Malaya can breeze 1,000 times, nothing will happen to those bamboos. So Holy Mother says that with Sri Ramakrishna's coming, this breeze is blowing, the breeze of grace. So all those who really want to make spiritual progress, they will find it very easy to do so. But those who are absolutely immersed in the world, those who are bamboo trees, so to say, they don't feel the need at all for God's grace. They think, I'm happy, I've got money, I've got house, I've got children, grandchildren, and maybe their children also. They will all protect me. Those who feel like that, no problem. But unfortunately, at the end, nobody can protect. There's a beautiful song. ভাই বন্ধু সুতন তারা পরিজন সঙ্গের দোসর নহে কোনো জন. ভাই, brother, বন্ধু, friend, দারা, wife, পরিজন, relatives, সঙ্গেরও দোসর নহে কোনো জন. দুরন্ত সমন বাঁধিবে যখন. Shaman means death. When death comes, বিনে ওই চরণ কেহ কারণা কালি কালি বলো রসনা. So at the time of death, nobody can help in any way. Without those feet, God's feet, without taking refuge in God, we cannot escape death. So, in this age, for those who realize their bondage and those who are willing, spiritual progress has become much easier. And the biggest name, the greatest name in this age to make spiritual progress is Sri Ramakrishna's name. That Swami Shivanandaji Mahapurush Maharaj has said. I will again quote him. He says, this much only I know, that the name Ramakrishna is the greatest mantra in this age. Whoever will take his name with faith will have devotion and liberation as accomplished facts. Ramakrishna is the glorious name of this age. To attain liberation, it is enough if one makes japa of his name. There cannot be the least doubt that anyone who will take refuge in the Master with all his being will be liberated. So this is what Mahapurush Maharaj says. And after saying that, in the end he says, this is what I know. Now if you want to put any logic or philosophy in that, you go and try your logic. Afterwards, when you are convinced, then you come to me. This is what Mahapurushji says. So this is the fact which they have experienced. And if we want to do research or PhD on this, we are free to do so. So once we are convinced of this, then only we will have that faith which will enable us to move forward. So, Khandana Bhava Bandhana, he is the breaker of the bonds of this world for those who really want these bonds to be broken. Then comes Jaga Vandana. Jaga Vandana means Jaga is the world, Vandana means one who is adored. So God, of course, he is supposed to be the creator, sustainer, and also the destroyer of the world. First principle, so to say. He is our nearest and dearest. And so naturally, he is the only reality behind all this we see, all this nature we see. This is a sort of mirage-like sort of thing. It only appears to be real because God is behind that nature. So since he is the only reality, only he is fit to be adored, fit to be worshipped in this world. That is why our mythological lore, Puranas and all other works by saints and sages contain innumerable hymns of praise addressed to God. And of course, in the world what we see, if someone is adored, someone is worshipped, it is for his virtues. So God has an infinite number of virtues. So naturally, for this reason also he is adored. So Sri Ramakrishna himself, the photo which is worshipped today in the Belur Math, also in the shrines, that photo, Sri Ramakrishna seated in Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna himself said that this photo this denotes a very, very high state of yoga, and in time it will be worshipped in every home. Every home means it will be worshipped by a great multitude of people. So he himself has said this, he himself has prophesied this, and we are seeing that it is turning to be true slowly and slowly. So, Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jaga Vandana Vandito Mai. I pay my obeisance to you, I pay my respects to you. So after that comes Niranjana. Niranjana, Anjana means stain, impurity, sin, etc. There are many meanings of Anjana. So when we add Ni to that, the meaning becomes opposite. Niranjana means without any stain, without any sin, without any impurity. No sin can touch God, because sin can accrue only to someone who is within Maya, who is within bondage. But God is said to be Mayadhisha. Mayadhisha means one who controls Maya, who is not under Maya at all. So since God is the controller, he is untainted by Maya. He cannot accrue any sin at all. So let alone God, God of course is God. So even an ordinary person, it is said in the Gita, when Sri Krishna is advising Arjuna, he says that one who has realized that he is the soul and not the body, even if he kills all these people standing before you, like the Kauravas were standing, before Arjuna, the huge army. So that person who has realized that he is the soul, even if he kills all these people, he will not be tainted by sin. What is the reason? The reason is that he does not identify himself with the mind and body, and he knows that only the mind and body do all the actions, while he is the soul. The soul does not do anything at all. The soul is actionless and unchanged. So even a realized soul, even a great saint, one who has realized that he is the Atman, no sin can accrue to him at all. So what to say about God being untouched by sin always? So, and Sri Ramakrishna, we know that he was renunciation incarnate, and there was not the least amount of selfishness in him. What leads to sin? Actually, what is the cause of all types of sin? It is only one thing, no? Selfishness. Only when we want something and we adopt improper means to get that, we accrue sin. For those who are completely unselfish, there can be no sin at all. So naturally, when even a great saint becomes free from sin, there is no question that God is always free from sin. So, Niranjana, after that comes Nara Rupa Dhara. Nara is a human being, Rupa means form, and Dhara means one who assumes a human body. So here, Nara, an ordinary person is completely bound by his karma. But when God takes a human form, it is completely different. Because all those who have studied Vedanta will say that you are telling that God assumes a human form. Well, Vedanta says that we are all souls. None of us are the body. So we are all souls, then we have also assumed a human form. Then what is the difference between God assuming a human form and our assuming a human form? The big difference is that two differences are there. One, we have not assumed a human form willingly. We have assumed a form because we are bound by our karma to do so. Even if we don't want to, we will have to assume in future also, till we are bound by our karma. So it is not that willingly we have come into this human body. No, not at all. We have been forced by our own karma. And God willingly takes upon this bondage himself. Not because he is under the control of any karma, because he desires to do good to humanity at large, and without assuming a human body, he cannot be in their midst. Till he is in between, he is not amongst them, how can he teach? So God assumes a human body willingly. So the second difference is that although we are in this body, we don't realize that we are inhabiting this body. We are one with the body. Now suppose we are wearing clothes. We realize that we are not these clothes. If the cloth is burnt, we say, my clothes have been burnt. We don't say, I have been burnt. But when something happens to the body, what do we say? Oh, I have cut myself. I am sick. I have broken my hand. So we don't realize that we have assumed a body. We have become one with that. Our desires have made us absolutely one. There is no difference. So we cannot say we have assumed a body. We have to say that we are just bodies now. Till we attain a very high spiritual state, we will always be bodies. But Sri Ramakrishna and other incarnations, even though they are in the body, they realize perfectly well that they are not one with the body. They can detach their mind from the body any time they like. Sri Ramakrishna used to force his mind to come down. He used to say, Mother, don't put me in samadhi. If I am in samadhi, how will I talk? So samadhi means what? It is going beyond everything, the whole universe. He did not want that because he had come for the good of the world. So let alone Sri Ramakrishna, I will tell you a very interesting incident from Mahapurushji's life in this regard. Once in Belur Math, Mahapurushji was not keeping well. Mahapurushji, Swami Shivananda. So although his health was not good, he expressed a desire to eat certain dishes which would harm him. So what do the disciples do now? They cannot say no. So they were discussing among themselves. So Mahapurushji wants to eat this, but it will cause him great harm. He wants it now, what to do? So they had no other way but to bring the dishes to Mahapurushji. They could not disobey. So Mahapurushji understood what was going on in their mind. So the dishes were kept before him. Mahapurushji just one finger, he just dipped into those dishes and just tasted and said, okay, my eating is over. Then he said, you people think that I am attached to these things, that's why I am asking for them. If I want, I can give up my body right now, let alone these. What are you talking about, these few insignificant dishes? So this is what Mahapuruji himself has said. You can find it in the For Seekers of God, that book. So let alone God, even his disciples are free from identification with this body. They realize that they have assumed a body. But we cannot say like that. So that is why it is said that God assumes a body for the good of the world. God comes down as man for the deliverance of people like us. So this is Niranjana Nara Rupa Dhara. Then two words remain, Nirguna Gunamaya. So these seem to be somewhat contradictory. First it is said Nirguna. So now all of you are experts in Sankhya philosophy, so you know that guna means quality, attributes, sattva, rajas, tamas. Those are the constituents of prakriti, as we have discussed. So we who are bound by prakriti cannot be free from these attributes till we identify ourselves with our body, gross body or subtle body or any body, any type of body. Till we identify ourselves with that, we cannot go beyond the gunas, cannot become nirguna or without attributes. But God is nirguna. Means what? As the supreme Brahman or the supreme reality, God is completely beyond all bondage. He is without any attributes. So, he is completely beyond the gunas, because the Sankhya says that creation emerges out of Prakriti or Maya, which is composed of these three gunas. And the Purusha, although he is actually free from these gunas, he becomes attached and therefore enters into a bondage and therefore becomes bound. So he is completely bound by the gunas till he attains freedom. But God is not like that. Now, next word seems to be contradictory, that he is also gunamaya. Gunamaya means full of gunas. He has so many gunas, so many qualities. So what does this mean? This also we have discussed earlier when we discussed the nature of Ishvara in our previous talk, if you remember. So what is Ishvara? Ishvara is Brahman seen through Maya. God is Brahman without any qualities, the supreme, ultimate reality. But we cannot imagine Brahman, we cannot realize Brahman till we are identified with this body. So whenever we think of God, whenever we try to meditate on God, it is always through the veil of Maya that we try to imagine Him. And Brahman conditioned by this type of Maya is Ishvara. And Ishvara is full of all the wonderful attributes. Ishvara is also called Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is actually composed of two words. One is Bhaga and one is Van. Van means possessed of. Like in Hindi or Bengali etc. we say Buddhiman. Buddhiman means what? One who is possessed of Buddhi. So Bhagavan means one who is possessed of Bhaga. Bhaga means what? Bhaga means 6 divine qualities. Like omnipotence, omnipotent, etc. So Ishvara or God is full of these qualities in their fullest measure. But again, in his transcendental states, in his true state, he is completely without any form of or attributes as the Supreme Brahman. So, God is at the same time Nirguna as well as Gunamaya, and his qualities have been described in a wonderful ways in so many scriptures that there is no end to those things. So he is the origin and repository of all the noble, great and blessed qualities that one can ever conceive. So Gunamaya also fits Sri Ramakrishna very aptly. So he had so many qualities, to mention only a few, that this his great steadfastness to truth, gentleness of speech, intense renunciation, universal love and compassion, extremely sharp intellect and robust common sense, etc. There are so many things. There was no end. So when we say of God, Ishvara, we can also say that Ishvara, since he is all in all, he is the only thing which exists. Good and bad, everything emanates from him. If he is the repository of good qualities, he is also the bad qualities. He is also at the best of bad qualities because he is the source of everything. But surprisingly, when God comes down as man, he becomes the repository of only good qualities. How this happens, why this happens, ordinary persons can't understand. So for us specially, we can say that an incarnation of God is even more desirable, more approachable than Ishvara himself, because we don't want all those negative qualities. We just seek the positive things which an Ishvara is full of. So Sardhananda ji makes this very pertinent comment in his book Leela Prasanga, Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master. So in a few sentences he beautifully describes Sri Ramakrishna's wonderful qualities. Even if we can achieve even 1% of those, our lives will be blessed. So he quotes, I will quote Swami Sardhananda. He says, by studying stories of the Master's early life, we understand the kind of mind he had when he began his spiritual disciplines. He accomplished whatever he set out to do. He never forgot anything he heard. He shunned forcefully and immediately any obstacle that prevented him from reaching his goal. We see that he performed all actions in this world by placing his firm faith in God and in the innate divine nature of all people. He could not accept any idea tinged with even the slightest narrowness, nor could he bear any low or impure thoughts. Purity, love and compassion guided him always in every respect. So just see the qualities he mentions. First, he accomplished whatever he set out to do because he immediately gave up all the obstacles in his path. Then he never forgot anything he heard. Then third is he performed all actions by placing his firm faith in God, by taking refuge in God. And then he could not accept any idea tinged with even the slightest narrowness or any low or impure thought. And last, purity, love and compassion guided him always in every respect. So these are our benchmarks, our guiding light, so that we also can imbibe such, try to imbibe such qualities by prayer and by the mercy of God. So after this comes the next verse, Mochana Agadushana Jagabhushana. So that we can take up next time. We have discussed this first verse in detail because many ideas are there. So after that some ideas will be repeated. So then it will be much faster, because at this pace it will take us at least 6 months to complete, so that we don't want. So next time, because many ideas will be the same, it won't take so long, I hope. So let us stop here for today. After that we can just hear a Sanskrit hymn which I have just uploaded recently on Sri Ramakrishna. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.